Welcome to the Talk Doesn't Cook Rice podcast with myself, John Staskowski, and Danny Massaro, where we explore thought-provoking concepts and provide practical insights to enrich modern life. We hope you enjoy this episode.
This is something. This is nothing. This is solid. This is space. Between yourself and the world of nature outside you.
Right, Danny. Syntropy. So we're going to look at the concept of syntropy, which is something Danny and I have probably discovered, in the last maybe 6 months, Danny? I've maybe mentioned it to you a couple of times, and then it's like, oh, what's this? This is interesting. And it seems to resonate in lots of different ways. I think as a topic, it probably overlaps with a lot of the people we've done episodes on before and topics. So I see lots of resonance with bioenergetics and Peat. Was Ian McGilchrist the last one we did? I think it was, wasn't it?
It was.
Ian McGilchrist, right and left brain hemispheres. I think there's lots of overlap there. I think there's overlap with the spiral in spiral dynamics and Claire Graves. I don't think we've ever done an episode on Ken Wilber, but I think there's relevance there as well. So there's lots of overlap with different things we've talked about. So in short, and this could be the pan of broth because it's quite a complex topic, but it's also quite simple at the same time. So a word that people may be familiar with is entropy. And entropy, in essence, is a measure of disorder and randomness in a system. So as the second law of thermodynamics goes, that is the notion that over time, things naturally are going to break down and become more chaotic. So things break down, get less complex, get more random, more chaotic, and essentially just fade away. And at some point, the universe is just going to fall into like a heat death. Syntropy, on the other hand, it's not so much an opposite, it's something that's working alongside entropy at the same time. So syntropy is a principle of order increasing and complexity increasing, energy going into a system and opposing that entropy, and things getting more complex, more solid, more order. So if you imagine, in terms of entropy, if you make a brew and you put your brew down on the table, hot coffee or tea or whatever it is, over time, that heat is going to spread out into the room. So the coffee or the tea is going to cool down and the system moves towards more disorder. And that's just this natural thing that apparently is going on all the time. Syntropy might be a good example. You plant a seed in some soil, and then over time, that fertile soil and energy from the sun and nutrients from the soil, they eventually grow a really complex oak tree. So there's order and structure and complexity coming out of the earth. And that, in essence, is the main difference between them. Now, there's probably quite a biological lens to this, but there's also quite a philosophical lens to this, just in relation to how we live our lives. Whether I tend to think of it as like a seesaw. So at any point in life, you've got this seesaw with entropy on one side and syntropy on the other. And the question that we've all got is like, what's your balance? Like, are you moving towards destruction and chaos and disorder, or are you building up towards more complexity and more strength? And it's constantly in the balance. And as one goes down, the other goes up, and vice versa. So that's the main difference. We'll obviously get into some more definitional stuff as we go through. But Danny, how does this sit for you initially? Why did you think, as I always tend to ask you, why is this relevant to us in our world today as a topic? Why as a topic did this appeal? And we thought we should do a pod on this.
Well, it's about energy, which is something that we've not talked a lot about. Talked about often sometimes the way we think and the way we behave and, and so on, or form relationships. But this is this sort of idea of underlying energy force in the world. This idea that that the universe is basically acting beyond our comprehension with these forces, these physical forces that obviously are the undercurrent, the charge, of everything. I think one of the bits in the book that I read about it was, the difference between like a dead body and a live body is just energy. The moments after the death, it was like there it's just kind of cadavers and a body, and muscle and joints and sinew. But when it's alive, it's the energy going through it that's making it, a human being. And it resonated with me because when you leave things alone and you don't put energy into a system, so you don't tidy your house, you don't, do the garden, you don't get yourself moving, immediately, you get this sense that chaos is building up. You get this sense that it's breaking down. You kind of know it's almost a fact, a pressure, a responsibility. If I don't keep on top of my house cleaning it, it's going the other way. It's just gonna turn into a mess. So, but when you do your little things, when you clean up, and you keep on top of things, and you bring that little bit of get up and go and positivity towards very simple things, it's got a chance of rescuing itself and sort of going into a good place. And that's what my original take on it was. There's they either leave things alone and don't put good energy into them and they'll just break down, or you either put energy in and go for it and try and be good and get order, and then you're not only slowing down the entropy, you're increasing the chances of creating something beautiful and more ordered and a higher level.
Yeah.
And I see that so much with sport. Lots of sports people, once they get into the details, the beauty and the sort of tiny bits of, it's the small things that end up being big things in the performances, because they're stopping that slow pull towards the form going away, almost like if you don't keep on top of your stretching, your movements, your technique, your fitness, your psychology, how you're feeling, your lifestyle factors, if you just don't quite keep on top of it, it goes down quickly. Whereas if you do keep on top of it in small ways, you go into your performances and generally it pays you back in a higher level of performance, something greater. So that's why I really like the way this is framed, Syntropy and Entropy. I think it's brilliant.
That thing on use is key, isn't it? So especially for a biological organism like a human being, things, if like a certain example I use is like if you break your arm and it goes in a cast, so you can't really use your arm for 6 months, let's say, the muscles and the strength in that arm's just going to like waste away and it's going to break down and there'll be disorder. So through not using it, disorder and entropy builds up. So unless you're using your body and moving it and putting energy through it, it's always going to be in that entropic state, as we might say. Now, Albert Szent-Györgyi was a Hungarian biochemist. And back in the 50s, 60s, he was saying, well, how come if everything's entropy and everything's just breaking down towards more disorder as energy dissipates, how come we can go from like an amoeba to like a human being? And like the only difference really is like the level of complexity. So it's like something's going on that complexity can increase through time. So it can't just be that second law of thermodynamics. There's got to be something else going on. So like the coffee cup, the heat just been lost. There must be a contrasting force that builds complexity at the same time. And that a few different people over time have used the term syntropy, but Albert Szent-Györgyi was probably the first in biology perhaps to use it. And he says, quoting him, he says, putting things together in a meaningful way is one of the basic features of nature. So at its essence, nature isn't really that pessimistic, dark, it's all just chaos in it. It's all just like, we're all just going to explode at some point in the future, because heat death and entropy is like, there's got to be something going on. And he just termed it syntropy. Now, if you're like a machine, so a non-living organism, like you said about the cadaver, the only difference is energy. Well, if you buy a car, the more you use it, the more it eventually breaks down and wears out. And it's just like any kind of bit of machinery, the more you use it, the more it can't regenerate itself. It's going to wear away, and wear and tear will break it down. And even if you buy a car and just let it sit on your drive, well, eventually it's going to rust and wither. And, when you see like apocalyptic films, and it'll be like New York City in 100 years, and you just see like the buildings and that all crumble, don't they? And like break away. So energy is the key thing, like you say. It's like, and that goes back to Peat when we talked about bioenergetics, and that's such a fundamental thing of like, is your life energetic? Are you putting energy into the system? Peat always said, if you put energy through a substance, the substance will always get stronger and more complex, and it'll diversify into more complex versions of itself, which is why you can go from an amoeba to a human, because there's enough energy to put the flow through. So as soon as that energy stops, things are going to get more entropic and it's going to break down. And that is quite a biological lens, but that's massively philosophical to me as well. It's like, yeah, what is your life energetic? What are you doing? Are you feeling enthusiastic, creative? What are you curious about? What kind of gives you butterflies in your stomach and you feel excited about and you want to move towards it? That's that rate of Peat thing of like, move towards the light, move towards the heat and abundance and things growing.
I like the explanations of the physicists, Heisenberg and Neil Bohr and a few of them, that was saying that energy is like more about waves, whereas matter is more like particles.
Yeah.
So, I don't understand any of that, but essentially, like, so these things, when you talk about, good vibes, vibrations, and spiritual people who are obviously right hemisphere and see the whole more, they talk a bit about the vibrational frequencies that you have when you're sat in presence or you're meditating or you're awake. And I think that when you think about, like, say you go training, doing your weights, or you go to the gym, I think sometimes you can go along and you can go, right, I'm just going to do these weights and I'm just going to get fit and I'm going to break my muscles down so they build back stronger and kill myself. I think that's one way of doing it. And I think another way of doing it is to go and exercise in terms of, I'm going to go in the gym or go for a run or play a sport, and through me, I'm going to bring energetic waves and enjoyment and enthusiasm to like play with it and to stretch myself and to bring energy, so that the game puts energy back into me and I put energy back into it. And then I see where I end up. And I see, with athletes and sports people that play like that, they're almost what I can only describe as like a spiritual or a mood fitness rather than just a physical fitness. So obviously, you need your muscles to grow and you need your body to be stronger, and you do train to exhaustion sometimes to get that up. But also what needs to happen, I think, is like, I suppose it's the old Rocky thing, isn't it? Training in the hills versus Drago battering himself in the gym with the chemicals. If you're in the outside, if you're running outside, if you're playing a game, if you're enjoying yourself, if it's a different way to exercise your system, and it's almost a healthier way to be, dancing could be one, couldn't it? It's a healthy way to sort of keep flooding your system with energy so it gets fitter. And what I see a bit with these like high rocks classes and lots of things like Blaze and whatever, Super Ironman, and I know everyone will do it in a different way. I'm not saying it's the thing, but there's a lot of smash it, break my record, get my heart rate high, and it's like, it's not the same energy. It doesn't feel as syntropic, let me say, as sort of like I'm going in there to break myself down, to kill myself, and then my body will just get, stronger. That's a bit of difference as well. So I think coaching, and when you're around people as teachers and coaches, if you understand this and you understand that things aren't just about working hard, it's about feeling good and feeling energy in an enthusiasm way, in an accepting way, in an enjoyable way. You bring that energy into the thing you're doing, and the thing kind of like syntropically gets on with you better. You notice, we'll get onto the attractors bit, but it's almost like you start to make friends with the activity you're doing. That could be cleaning, cooking, serving coffee, playing sport, talking to your parents. You're almost going into it, not in a sort of, this has to get done. Like, it's almost, you're going into it with good vibes, good energy. It's syntropic. This is going to work out really well, and it's enjoyable. It's a very, very important distinction, that.
Massive. And that's just straight away that then poses the question, what are you working on? So whether it's like you live in terms of what you do for work, whether it's the projects you're working on, what you're doing in the gym, or whatever it is, through a syntropic lens, there should be that. There's a big split between head and heart, isn't there, within the theory of syntropy, in a way, and that the West typically is very brain focused. So we talked about Ian McGilchrist and the brain hemispheres, very rational, very brain focused, very analytical. Whereas the East typically, and people like Eckhart Tolle and stuff who you mention now and again, it's much more heart focused. So it's much more about intuition. So what you are working on, is that in tune with your intuitive passions and desires and what makes you tick and what gives you that? Just get up on a morning, you're excited for your day and you feel like you want to go and do it because you want to do it, not because you have to or you should do it. Now, I know it's easier said than done, But that is a big part of like I love the intuition aspect of it, and the fact that it sees time on a different perspective. So in through a syntropic lens, the future is always in the present moment, isn't it? So it's like in that sense, what your intuitions are telling you, what, for example, what are you curious about? So what do you see and you go, I like that. There's something I like this, and you kind of get that sense of I'm just curious about this. I enjoy this as a topic or as an activity through a syntropic lens. And like we'll talk about the attractors, like you said, that's the future almost reaching into the present and pulling you along and saying like, no, there's something in this. And if that's felt in your heart, it's not a brain rational thing. It's like a solar plexus warmth in your heart where you just feel this is right for me. I like this. I get this warm fuzzy sensation of I'm doing what I'm here to do. What I was like, everyone's got that individual potential, haven't they? So it's pulling you towards that. And that's in the heart. It's not in the brain. You can't rationalize it. And I think people get a little bit out of tune with what's your heart telling you and learning to follow your heart a little bit more rather than, oh yeah, but they've got to think, and what about that? And oh, that'll happen if I do that. I can't do that. That's more entropic. That's the past pulling you back in a way and like going, it's kind of just clipping your wings. Whereas Syntropy is like, no, come on, we're pulling you to a higher, very Nietzschean, isn't it? Like pulling you up to your higher self.
I'll talk for sport again. When you're playing sport and you see this and hear it, I've looked at sports and coached sports and I've listened to hundreds of psychologists and players and all things. Sometimes when they've talked about playing at their highest self, their highest performances, one thing they said, I wasn't forcing it. I didn't have to force it, right? Which is like basically a cause and effect. If I do this, this will happen. If I take my putter back in line and put it through there, it will go in. You know what I mean? So there's an element of logic and cause and effect that, as we all say, if you do this and do that, it'll make this happen. So it's like future, get your work done, then you'll be fitter, then you'll run more, and then so there's all the bump forwards. But when people are in higher states of what they call higher states of consciousness, and all these words are like old rave tunes, by the way, aren't they? From all the old rave days. I wonder why. Because
Let me be your fantasy.
entropy and syntropy and all these, higher states and that. Because I think music and being in that place and going back years and years and thousands of years, and music and drums and noises and things, it's a portal, it's an access to the higher resonance again, which is, again, some people might be thinking, well, what are they going on about? It's just music, But anyway, when you're playing in flow, and I can only speak for players I've worked with and we've talked about it, or even my own experiences of playing different sports, or it just seems like I can't miss, or I'm just doing okay. It's almost like the ball is telling me where it needs to go. So if you're playing in football, I used to play a bit of football and it was all right. And sometimes you'd play and you get the ball and you could see the options. If you were enjoying yourself that day and you're fit-ish to a point, and you felt like you weren't frightened and you weren't scared and no one had wiped you out in a tackle, and it was, you just felt good. You almost see space. It's almost like the ball is like going, I could go there, I could go there, I could go there. Which one are you going to choose? It's almost like there is information from what's going to happen next, telling you what to do, weirdly, rather than you getting the ball and going, right, where do I need to look? Who's available? It's like you're ahead of it but you can't be ahead of it, actually, obviously. But information seems to be coming from the future into that moment, and then you sort of like just kick it there. With the squash ball, sometimes you come in on a ball. I've come in for a shot. I've seen it with players that are like in the zone or whatever. It's almost like the ball is saying, "Put me there, hit me here, and put me there." And what happens is you start to notice. It's like a sensation. You're ahead of the game. The game slows down in time, and it's like you're reading your opponent, and you don't know why you're reading them easily. You're like, I'm just there. You know what? They say in tennis, don't they? Like, the ball looks the size of a football today. I don't know why. I just can't miss. That isn't a cause and effect thing. People can't describe that when they've done even documentaries on it. The zone, what is it? They don't know. So when I read about syntropy and about the fact that there's an underlying force that if you can relax and tune into it slightly and you're lucky and you're just seeing, you're noticing these things, there's almost information coming at you from the future where you need to go, but you don't understand it. We might call that intuition. Some people call it your heart knows, and it's your gut feeling, it knows. So what they were saying in the book, the heart might know, because the heart is a highly intelligent organism. It's not just a beating blood vessel, is it, to pump blood? It's got more to it, as they're finding out. The heart, there's lots of experiments that have shown the heart has a brain. It's very sensitive. It works with the brain in a teamwork, feeding each other information back. And there is famous studies, isn't there, where the people have had heart transplants, and the person who's been given the heart has took the personality on of the person whose heart it was, which is incredible. Not always, but in many situations, someone might have become a risk taker or something. So there's something about the heart that isn't just a pumping blood. It's got an intelligence in it. When when you play from the heart, and people say, play from the heart, we don't have many words to explain these things, but I do think that there's something about beauty, there's something about order and getting to higher levels of output and organization and complexity and beauty, but it doesn't feel complex because you're almost guided to it.
Yeah.
And that fits with it's not a left hemisphere sort of logical, I will work this out and make it happen. It almost just pops into your head, like people say when they're just walking or daydreaming or having a shower. Einstein apparently got lots of his ideas when he wasn't even thinking. It's like, well, where did that come from? Boomf. And my challenge as a sports psychologist type person is, when it means everything to somebody, how do you get them to let go and trust that, when so much of what they've done has been built up on forward thinking, cause and effect? How do you let go and trust and have faith and trust these things? And all I can say is it becomes like a learned feeling. It's almost like a feeling of it that you go, I'm back in that feeling, nice one. And the brain quietens down and you trust the feelings more, and the feelings play. And I'm quite intrigued with some of these Premier League managers and football managers that are somehow able to relax players enough where they almost don't become like stormtroopers to the manager's plan, do this, and we'll win. And they almost allow them to remember that, guys, we have a vague plan, but you're players, you're not troops. You play the game, play it, relax, open up, and you will start seeing the goal look bigger. You will start seeing passing opportunities. The child in you might reawaken. These types of things that you relax. And I think you see managers, they come into new teams and they just relax players, I think, and they just, you see the same person and they look like a completely different player. And I think that that's something to do with this. It's like a letting go, and almost like if I relax and stay awake, and I stay fit and healthy and do my good energy training things, the game will come to me. And that sounds a bit wishy-washy and, it's a leap of faith, but I think there's something in that in my experience has been huge in helping players get out of ruts and get over problems that are in their head and feel like they don't like the game anymore and they don't love the game, and that they feel like they deserve things to happen. They've lost their faith, in the good in the world. They don't see the beauty of the game anymore. They almost fall out with it. They're almost like going around like, I deserve more, but they're fundamentally not tapping into, I don't deserve a thing. All I need to do is be awake, and the game will lead me to where I need to go.
The thing is as well, though, that the left hemisphere culture that we're in now, especially in the West, those flow states that you're talking about, those people that come into a football club or wherever it is, and you feel the vibe coming. When you're around someone who's in that, just like a different energy field, isn't it, that you pick up from them? The vibe is just totally different. And it's very wooish, this stuff. So even Syntropy as a topic, even though, to be fair, it's massively underpinned by a lot of like complexity science and systems theory and stuff, it can feel very woo to that left hemisphere world. So even that flow state you're talking about, it's like a player might come off court and it's like microphone in the face, right? You've got to explain that. You just can't. It's that left hemisphere demand for. We're doing it a little bit, even just doing a podcast on it, aren't we? It's like you've got to zoom in on it and go, all right, well, what's this? Let's define it. Let's give it a name. Let's justify it and kind of make it feel true. And you just can't explain that. And I think that's a practice thing, that sense of again, that intuitive thing of just going with the flow a little bit. So there's a lot of, I want to do an episode at some point on Taoism as a thing, because there's lots of overlap with the Tao, that kind of Chinese philosophy, and that notion of everything is a process. It's like a process philosophy of the flow. A lot of people remember Heraclitus back in the day, that no man steps in the same river twice kind of thing, because it's not the same river and it's not the same man. That's a process philosophy of like nothing's ever static and just fixed and finished. It's always in this flow thing, which is very Taoist in a way. And the whole yin and yang sort of entropy and syntropy are kind of the yin and yang that are in play all the time. But there is a thing of, there's like a famous thing about the Tao, isn't it? It's like, well, as soon as you try to explain the Tao, that's not the Tao anymore.
Yeah.
You kind of just got to feel it and live it.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier before we started recording, like as we've got older, I think we're both way more like that. So people seem to resonate with us more because of the vibe we're on, because we're not in this business of explaining and having to justify and prove worth and kind of like explain everything in that left hemisphere rational thing. And Syntropy is more like that. The energy is just, you don't even know what it is. You can't put a finger on it, but there's a pull there. And if you tune into it and you go with the flow, I know it's a cheesy, shitty phrase in a way, but I've definitely found the more I do that, the better my life gets. Or not the better, but just the more content in myself I feel, and the more. You mentioned a phrase the other day, like you were talking about, something like, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. And it's that, innit? It's like, we could both probably do more. We could push ourselves out into the world more and chase more things and just get bigger and better and earn more money and all that kind of stuff. But it's just not, it's not with the flow. You're forcing it, you're pushing it. It's like an entropic thing, I think, rather than just moving with where the interest takes you, where your intuition takes you. And that becomes like a skill to recognize that feeling, I think, and go with it and just let yourself go. And those managers that do that, I think that's why they get an instant impact, because it just feels nice and warm to the plate. It's like a heart thing, innit?
Yeah.
And it's just like, this guy's heart's in the right place. I like this. And you just relax and then boom, away you go. Whereas that entropic cause and effect, right, we're going to do 1,000,000 corner drills because this will happen. And if we do this, that'll happen. And it's just, it's that cold, rational left hemisphere. And you need a bit of both, obviously. But I suppose what we're saying is people are more on the seesaw is tipping more on the entropy side.
Well, it's not about stopping entropy, is it? Because you can't stop entropy.
Can't stop it. It's inevitable.
When you're aging as a person, like say you're getting 60, 70, you know that you're breaking down.
I would challenge that a little bit though. So, and through a Peat lens, he would say there is no inbuilt mortality to the human body.
Yeah.
There's no like mechanism that just like a machine would. That's a very machine-like view, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, you'll get 100,000 miles out of that, and then you're done. Classic one in biology is the rate of living theory. So it's like you've got a limited number of heartbeats. So once you've had X 100,000 heartbeats, whatever it is, or million, it probably must be, then you'll just die. So it's better to have a slow metabolism. So, and that again is more entropic. It's that cold, almost like a primitive lizard metabolism, cold-blooded reptile, like insular, like shrink into yourself versus no, let's get your energy metabolism fine. Let's pump energy through the structure. Let's be warm and move towards the heat and like get your heart beating faster. And Ray Peat would say that as long as you've got energy running through the substance, it will only ever create more structure and complexity, and it'll get stronger. And because it's got more structure, it can therefore handle more energy, and therefore the structure will get even stronger and bigger and more complex. Not necessarily bigger, but just more robust. And that's a totally different view to the modern health perspective, especially online, that you see. It's like I see fellas celebrating their low heart rates, and I think, friggin' hell, like, you just that's entropic. You are going to age faster and things. Whereas if you get the energy pumping, Ray Peat would say you can live to 150 easy. There's nothing built into you that's going to break down if you've got enough energy.
So I think when you said something to me like energy, it takes a lot of energy to rest.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So that like it's like think of it as like a relaxed readiness,
right?
So like most people often, when you, especially if they're like, I often have clients will say, and like on the face of it, they look fit, they're doing well, they're like cracking on. And as soon as you dig a little bit, how's your sleep? And that, oh well, struggle a bit. Like I always wake up in the middle of 3 a.m. It's a classic time to wake up in the night wired, and it's that sort of wired but tired feeling. So that wiredness is it's just a stress pathway, it's stress hormones like adrenaline, cortisol. So you feel wired, so you feel like you've got energy. Like I used to do it to myself with cold showers and stuff.
Right.
Years ago, you know that feeling you have a cold shower and your body's like, "What are you doing? Get out! This is fucking horrendous." But you're like going, "No, this is good for you. This because it's doing whatever." And like, it's like there's 18 studies that prove it's good. You know, like the Wim Hof stuff and all that. So you can feel energetic, but it's a really wired, stressy feeling. Whereas actually, like good natural energy through good metabolism is like a relaxed state. You don't feel that wiredness. You just feel like calm and chill, but you're ready. So if a lion jumped out and you had to run, you could, or you need to run for the bus or whatever, you can. You feel like you've got the capacity, but you're not this wired sense of energy. It goes back to what you said about the gym earlier. Most people go to the gym and train and batter themselves and break the body down.
Yeah.
And it's very entropic.
Yeah. So it's entropic. That's what I mean. So when you know, if you watch dogs or wild animals, they rest like
a lion just chilling in the sun. It's a relaxed readiness, isn't it?
Yeah, rest, and then bang, 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 rest.
Yeah. And that requires, at a cellular level, that requires energy.
Right.
To basically have enough energy to just go into that chill, relax mode.
Right.
Especially when you're not running off the stress pathway.
So when you go on holiday for 2 weeks, people say it takes me a week to come down and then I actually relax.
In a way, yeah.
So they sort of like perhaps calm down, get off their work phone and all that and start noticing and remember. I think it's so interesting because then they remember bigger picture things, don't they? And, you know, you tend to go, oh, life may, and you remember feelings that you might have used to have had as everything. Maybe that, you know, that is an energy coming back into the whole system. I think I notice it when I get ill. I don't like it, obviously, because you're ill, but I feel like, oh no, I can't really. I mean, I just have to rest, but I can't really feel too syntropic. I miss out on. It's not that I'm addicted to getting stuff done, or I feel useless if I don't. But you know, a little bit of a run, a little bit of exercise, doing something, having a creative idea, reading a book, producing, you know, writing something makes me feel like it gives me energy back if I do it in the right mode. Whereas if I'm like go to things and I'm forced to do it and I don't like it. And it's, or I'm just doing it for the money. It's a different kind of, it doesn't give me energy back. It just takes from me. So I think that, as I was saying, I think there's always entropy kind of going on as it's a universal law, but that the syntropy working alongside it, complementing it. If you're getting older, and let's say all life, you know, eventually does at some point, whether it's 1,000 years, 100 years, whatever, sort of starts to maybe get entropic and renew and regenerate into something else. The energy dissipates. What can help that is keep moving, keep your brain alive, keep ticking, learn something new, take pride in your appearance. You know, little things that even though there's entropy getting a little bit stronger, there's still this feeling of like, yeah, but like today in the present moment is still energetic. There's still things I can do to boost the energy, not necessarily to get back at entropy. Like entropy is the enemy. It's just like, yeah, but if I go for a walk, if I you know do the garden and I paint that wall and I tidy them letters up in my house and I clean the fridge and I, you know, little small things become quite big things in terms of life still got a lot in it for me. And I see people, they get to a point and go, oh, my knee, I can't do that anymore. Oh, I'll go swimming. Well, I can't because I've got a blocked ear. All right, well, try painting. Oh, I can't paint anymore. I used to. Right, well, have you read? No, and then all that happens is the entropy seems to speed up.
Yeah.
Like the news is shit. Have you seen the news? Oh, the world's terrible. You know, and basically all you sort of notice is what's wrong in the day. You know, like those pictures you get where there's an old lady and a young lady or a duck and a whatever, a rabbit, and you see two things in the same picture if you look. It's almost like you can't help but like get triggered and notice all the like the weather's gone bad, and I think you pick up on that in people. It's like all that the face looks a bit tighter, the entropy kicks in really fast. You know, there's a real fall off quite quick, and then it's really hard to get back up. It's like the force of entropy is taken over so much, it's almost hard to get syntropic about anything. obviously I understand that if you're really ill and you're really taken over with something that biological or your system's smashed, and you can't bring energy in, and you've got these diseases or you're on chemotherapy and things, I don't know. But I'm not saying that just get syntropic and you'll be fine. It's not that. There's more complex, but that's what I see. I've noticed that even athletes, that are coming towards retirement, where they start to notice where they can go, what they might do, they don't fear retirement as much because it's like, the next phase is just going to be as good. It could be even better, because being an athlete's being a little bit weird, to be honest. In terms of smashing my energy and all the highs and lows, I'm actually looking forward to having another way of being in the world. Whereas if you're just thinking of, I'm not as fast as I used to be, I don't, these young players are faster than me, this isn't right. I think you just start noticing everything that's decaying. So that's another side of this, how you might frame things. Is there's inevitable change in some ways. There's obviously entropy works in the world. Things break down. My garden's going to get messy. My dog's getting older. I'm losing my hair a bit or whatever. Things are going on, but that doesn't mean anything if I notice what the new good stuff might be, and I can tap into that. And then it's amazing how things reveal themselves.
That's where I would argue, though. And I know it's a little bit chicken and egg, but that's where you're back to energy. So I don't think someone who has got good biological energy flowing through their mitochondria and the cells has to force themselves to go for a walk. You want to go for a walk because you've got the energy. So you don't go for a walk to get energy.
Right, okay.
So it's like the other way around. And that's that spiral, which is quite entropic, like you're saying.
Yeah.
I see it in my parents. They're aging quick, man. When you see it, it's just like, God, every time I see them, like, you just look a bit older and a bit weaker. And they're just in that entropy spiral of there's nothing coming into the system to just give them a bit of to just fight it a little bit. So they are on that, well, it's just inevitable aging, isn't it? Decline, and then boom, you're done. Whereas I genuinely think if you can get that energy going, and again, it was back, like I was saying earlier, with the exercise culture and stuff, it's if you think like catabolism or like being catabolic is entropy, isn't it? So it's like smash my muscles, break them down, go to failure, don't eat any shit, like don't even eat much because I've got a diet and I've got to count calories, and it's all this stripping down, and it's very entropic. Whereas how are you going to have energy in that? Like your organism is thinking, shit, this environment's brutal, like we're on the edge here, like there's not much food coming in, and flipping it, like there's a lot of stress. I better almost like turn down my system because I've got no energy to spare here. Like, this is a threat state, and that's where you get that learned helplessness of, oh my God, the news is this. I don't even want to leave the house because the world's just horrible. And it's like a spiral down into that. Whereas if you've got enough energy, I often say to clients, I look out the window and like, the world's frigging amazing. Yeah. Like, I don't care what the news says. My world is amazing when I look out there. So rather than the restriction and the cutting down, it's like the being anabolic in a way, isn't it? How are you going to build up? So eat more often, like eat the things that give you energy in the system, and then it's like everything just opens up, and you're like, I tell you what, it's not bad, the world, is it? Like, I'm excited for my day. Like, I feel like I want to talk to people. Animals come up to me and want to stroke, and that it's all that, and the world. The signal you give in your organism is the world is abundant and the world is a welcoming place. So suddenly then your body's like going, this is good, we've got energy to burn. So I tell you what, I'm going to put a bit into my nails and my hair and my skin and all those peripheral things that aren't for survival. And then suddenly you're building, because it's like, I feel good, I look good, mate. Like, I feel like, and like people seem to like, and it's like the structure's building up, and then you've tipped the seesaw.
Yeah.
And you're out of that spiral, and it's just like, right, let's go, and let's like move towards the light and engage with the world. The world is a place you want to play in and get involved in, and let's go.
Yeah, and you get momentum. So like,
that's it.
You get a better relationship there, you improve a bit of that, and then something from your past comes back in, because it's like, I'll bring this old skill I learned, that's now working on a higher level because I've got the other bits that make it work. So everything starts to synthesize as that's syntropy, isn't it? So again, like this general belief in a force that the universe is going towards more, as well as chaos, it's going to more order and beauty and greater things. Yeah. I heard that one person said it's almost like the universe knows where it's supposed to get to, and it's working backwards, pulling things to it.
So in that there's a purpose, isn't there?
Yeah, Rob, there's already a purpose. It knows, and it's just pulling it in. I thought the gravity example was brilliant about that things can travel back in time because gravity from the moon and the sun solar flares on the sun, the earth feels it instantly, whereas light from the sun takes 8 minutes, whatever, plus to get here, whereas gravity's instant. So for it to have an instant effect on the earth, it has to be traveling backwards in time. So it has to be coming from the future back for it to be instant. So in terms of physics and that, something can go back through time from the future. That is an example of a physical law where that kind of backs up that there can be things calling you from that future moment. Yeah. But that's a bit deep. But
it's like sorry to just butt in with that. It's like I've heard it termed a backward in time energy flow in terms of syntropy, and it's that, isn't it? It is. It's time isn't just this linear line. And when you get into the quantum stuff and all that, which is way above my head,
yeah.
But they'll say like, oh yeah, it's not just this linear line where most people will watch like Interstellar or something, won't they?
Yeah.
Oh my God, did you see like he went there, but 10,000 years had gone here, and like,
yeah,
it's all that crack. At that level, it's not just time is moving forward. There's other stuff in play.
Yeah, and there was the Heisenberg famous experiment, wasn't it? That if you didn't observe the part of the thing, it disappeared. So it needed to be looked at, and if you didn't look at it, it went. Weird, that, isn't it? All them crazy things that we beyond ours, but does open the idea towards different kinds of forces and laws going on in physics. Now, one question I had for you, which I asked, and I think it's really important, is obviously back in the day, I learned a lot about the law of attraction. Very popular, like a law of attraction. So it is this positive psychology thing of think positive, believe you are this, believe you have that, believe you're already rich, manifest, you're already got the house and all this, and the universe will then provide it to you, right? How's that different than this sort of syntropy and that there are attractor things there?
So you can introduce the attractor thing. So that's like a little bit separate but fundamental in a way, isn't it? But I just said to you, I think that law of attraction, like The Secret was the famous book, wasn't it? Of just manifest your thought. Like if you want to be rich, just think being rich and you'll eventually become rich. But it's on a very individual, internal like level of consciousness, isn't it? So if people have listened to the episode we did on the spiral dynamics, it's very orange on the spiral, where it's just like, well, I want to be this or I want to be that, and I'm just going to think it and I'll become it. Whereas syntropy and all this stuff, it's much more like a systems level. So it's like it's on there's like a universal force moving in that direction towards greater complexity and more structure and all that stuff. And that's like way beyond just your individual desires. That's a whole different level of complexity and structure than just think positive thoughts. It's more turquoise on the spiral, like I said. It's more universal, isn't it? Like it is a universal evolution of a system, and we're all part of the system. So you can't go, oh well, as long as I just think what I want to think and become. You've basically reduced yourself to a part, haven't you?
Yes.
Whereas we're all part of the whole. We're all like in the system, interacting, influencing it and being influenced by it. So you can't just detach yourself from that and go, well, as long as I just think this, that'll happen. So it's more like a belief system, that in a way. Whereas I think, even though it does sound very woo, a lot of the time, I think syntropy is way more grounded in science.
Yeah, I think I take it as, I always felt to me that it was a cause and effect. It was, if I do this, I'll get that. If I think these things, then this will happen for me. Whereas syntropy is more like, no, you don't really know what's there for you. It's not about you. Just join in with, stay awake, relax, and almost like the path or a path that's useful and not just entropic, that's actually going to take you somewhere that's beautiful and good. You'll notice something and you will move towards something better, but it might not be like having a mansion, and it might not be having a big car and a Ferrari, and all these things, and a beautiful wife. And it's not about that. It's about more like joining in, but it's not just about you. It's just a universal law. So you can't design your future. It's almost like there are things that are already going to go well if you relax and you're awake enough and you put your best foot forward. Is it? Is this? It sprung to my mind when I was reading the other week. Was last year. Is Syntropy a bit like get busy versus entropy? Get busy living rather than get busy dying.
That's the seesaw, isn't it?
Shawshank Redemption.
That's the seesaw. If that's a really simple way to explain the seesaw, it's like, what you're doing. Are you, at any moment in time, are you swaying towards dying, so the entropy, or are you living like the syntropy? That's literally it. What are you going to do at that level?
Yeah.
Just to go back to the secret thing, and I don't know if it's a useful example or analogy for that, but you know where you see like flocks of birds, and like I can't remember what they call them. It has a proper name, doesn't it? Where they're like swarming around and they make those like shapes, and they're all like in unison, aren't they? And you see like the big flocks of birds on the horizon. It's just like, it's quite a beautiful. It's like starlings, but I think other birds maybe do it as well. Maybe it's just starlings, but it looks class, doesn't it? Where it's just like
shapes.
How the hell can they? There's like thousands of birds. How do they all know when? And they don't. They're not thinking on an individual level. Oh, now I need to turn left 3 degrees, and then like it's not like a planned forward. It's just an emergent thing of the system. So it's like a self-organization. It's not really a conscious thing. It's the system self-organizing in a complex way, because there's an energy going through the system, and that law of attraction stuff ignores the system. It takes you out of it.
Yeah, it's a bit more crude, isn't it? It's just thoughts. It's not energy, is it? It's just think this, and the universe's energy will be attracted to you like a magnet, rather than fill yourself up with energy and things, and syntropy will happen.
Well, that attractor stuff that's kind of saying there's already this guiding force.
Yeah.
And a guiding system towards more wholeness.
Yeah.
So on the system level, and then you as part of that system, well, if you tune in, it will guide you towards your greater or whole self, whatever that could be.
So eat well, get your energy right, do the right things, what makes you tick, get yourself on good form, and randomly, without designing it, good things start to link and go your way a bit more. You know, not necessarily make your own luck, but you over time, you know, regardless of possibly absurd events, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could fall on your car or whatever. And it's not discounting random bad luck, is it? Or it's not discounting the absurdities.
Well, that's why I was thinking there when you said good. Maybe I don't know I don't know. This is me just speculating. Is saying good things will happen, because that puts like a value on it, I suppose, doesn't it? I think it is generally a positive thing. But like you say, like maybe something shit happens to you, and then actually from that you learn, and then like that's a step to becoming more whole.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, you don't want it where like, oh well, you know, there's nothing negative can ever happen, because in the end it all leads to a better energy. But in terms of how you experience things, you know, practically, you know, back to the pragmatic side of doing this sort of framing, if you will, which isn't just made up, like the left and right hemisphere are good frames, you know, there's science behind it. But in terms of like, as I think about it and just framing syntropy, entropy, and how thinking about syntropy and entropy can help, and you know, then I suppose the spirit of it is, if I get good energy, eat, you know, try these little things, get in a good place, you know, make the right decisions, don't just do work for the sake of it, you know, live to my feelings and vibes and how I want to live, then more order will happen in my life as I want that order. It will go towards the places I tend to like thrive in, rather than the places where it might look like I'm thriving on the surface, but underneath I'm feeling very entropic in terms of I don't feel myself, I don't feel where I should be, I've got all these success but I'm not happy. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. In that way, you could be given £10 million now, John, go and work in California on your own for a billionaire for 3 years, and you're like, but you're like, what would I do with $10 million? You know, like, but it's a big thing it's that feeling of, it's that you don't know, there's just an instinct that's a cheap way of doing it. There'd be a cost to that somewhere down the line. You know, like when you make money off stocks and shares, really you haven't lifted a finger, have you? So it's different kind of vibe. Well, for me anyway, it might be different for other people, or gambling.
But yeah, it could be someone just genuinely passionate, like Warren Buffett. is obviously passionate about playing the markets and picking a good stock, and that's him moving syntropically in that way.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, to be fair, but so for me, I think when you do a bit of work or you actually create something and you swap money and you value and you've done something really genuinely positive, you've helped others, and then you've been paid for that, and it seems fair, that barter. It's like for me, it feels more like I feel better in my values and working with the world. Don't get me wrong, it'd be nice if you won the lottery and it was landed on your lap, but you won't be doing too much complaining about, oh no, I don't want it, that's entropy.
But that's building life, isn't it? That's what Syntropy does. It builds life. Like you often refer to as the helping professions, don't you? But that's typically what we do. We just help people in whatever way and it's not necessarily be better, but it's just help them doing what they want to do, whether it's like be better at squash or be more philosophical or be a better whatever. It's building life, that relationship. So that to me feels quite syntropic. Whereas if I don't know, let's say we're both gangsters in the mafia, and it's like, well, we're doing this deal. Danny's doing a drug deal. I'm going to like kill Danny and take the money. It's quite entropic that in a way, isn't it? Of like you're breaking down, you're killing, and it's a different thing totally. But you might get the same money out of it.
You're lying, you're cheating, you're not telling the truth. It's like them films, isn't it? You watch the mafia films and you watch the bad movies and you think, oh, it looks kind of sexy, that, a bit of power. But ultimately, always breaks down, doesn't it? To whether it's Scarface or Casino or any of the great mafia films, it always breaks down back into pain, and it's like it was never ever going to really lead to anything beautiful. It was always going to destruct.
And Ray Peat used to say, and I'm not quoting him directly, just kind of paraphrasing, that with enough energy, life is naturally altruistic. So you wouldn't, if everyone had enough energy and the environment we were in was energetic and syntropic, people would get along, they would help each other and they would build each other up, and the whole thing would be more syntropic. So like energy creates structure, it creates more energy and up you up. But because we're in an environment of scarcity and resources are limited, so you've got to like grab your bit and you've got to use your left hemisphere to work out how you're going to grab your bit of the pie. It's quite entropic, quite woo in it. I would imagine some people are probably going, what are these two on about? But it makes sense to us. Like you said, to make it practical, maybe questions or just things that people can do. Follow the spark. So that syntropic spark in the future, reaching back, what is that for you? So what ignites you? It might be an idea, it might be a connection you have with a person, it might be a challenge that you keep going back to, or something, a subject keeps cropping up, an opportunity keeps popping up. That could be the signal of Syntropy. And it's like the vibe will be, we'll pursue it, go after it, because that energy, that's going to fuel more order and more complexity, and then away you go. Like flow, like we talked about. So what are the moments that you get into that proper, just where you forget where you are and what you're doing because you're just in it, because you love doing it and you're in that state? Whether it's frigging painting or writing or dancing, can be anything, playing sport. Those moments where time just dissolves, that's Syntropy's sort of sweet spot, isn't it? Of just like, you're just in it and you're not even thinking about what you're doing. That's the sort of energy and purpose aligning. And I think, I don't know if they would even be a syntropist. Would that exist as a person? But they would probably say, seek those moments out. When do you get lost in the flow and you're just in your element because you just love what you're doing? Seek them out. I think relationships can be syntropic. So I would say our relationship is quite syntropic. I think we build each other up.
Yeah.
Like we amplify each other's vibe. Like you give me stuff, I give you stuff. And it's not for any kind of exchange. It's just...
Yeah, definitely.
It builds, doesn't it? Like we get more knowledgeable or wise or whatever, and there's an amplification to it.
Yeah.
So that sort of deeper connection with whoever, it can be like friends, family, just strangers who you come across, and you have that vibe of like, I got on with them. That's a bit of that feedback loop. There's that coherence. The chaos is dissolving a little bit.
It's like when you see children just meet on the park and they just play with each other, it's very syntropic. They make friends straight away, and they're like, I've known this kid for 10 years and we're just playing. And I think that's like real friends, not deal friends. That's saying, it's not, everything's not just transactional. The heart's there and it's spontaneous, and it's just like you have that ability to just catch someone's eye. You know that with a smile, our smile spreads to another person, and that a smile never ends. You know, they smile someone else. The smile is contagious. So you're always in a state where you can be open and a little bit friendly, not necessarily naive, but
yeah.
And it does, and that's a bit of love, isn't it? You know, you come more from a love angle than a head angle of what's the bottom line here. And I think Eckhart Tolle talks about that a lot with terms of roles. If you can escape the roles, you know, mother, son, brother, best friend, client, player, coach, if you can escape what the role is and just like person, it seems more syntropic because the empathy's there and you're not playing a game as much. What can I get out of them, or what should they be doing? Because that's my mum, or that's my husband, or that's my best friend. I can't believe they missed my birthday. Are they still my best friend? What's going on? Oh, their mum does that. Why doesn't my mum do that? You know, you start putting people back into roles, and I think that kids don't do that. You know, they just, you know, when they're really young, it's syntropic. You can fight even, can't they, and nick each other's toys, but it's still spontaneous, and then naturally they will gravitate away from that kid. They would end up with other kids that played fairly. You know, like experiments with animals is the same, isn't it? They did how animals forge gangs and things and do work as teams. If they're not playing fairly, they get ousted. So it's not syntropic. It's entropy. You're ruining it. You play on the park and someone would boot the ball away or whatever, or don't play by the rules. It's like, well, that's not really building to a greater game for all of us, and it's unequal teams, and we all need to fair it off because we need a syntropic kind of good game of football. Well, you're just ruining it. So it's kind of natural, isn't it? But in real life with adults, we put up with loads of that because we're thinking, yeah, well, can I get out of it? I might lose my money if I do that. Oh, I better do it. And then it's all bullshit, innit? And no truth. So it's actually the heart cuts off and the head just puts on this fake game smile, and you're into Sartre's bad faith, aren't you? Like you're just into playing a game in your head, and it doesn't feel very energetically good, that.
And you feel that, don't you? You know, when you're around people who just
Politics.
there's just something wrong with it. You're just like, that person, whatever it is, you just got a bad vibe. Often it can be the other way. It can be people who are too energetic in a funny way. So like, you know, like more when I used to work in the university, you know, people who love meetings and they're always like buzzing for a meeting and they're just hyper all the time. They're going to blow up. Like they're people to avoid. They're kind of faking the syntropy in a way. It's just like, but who are those people who you just get on? Their vibe is just like, I like that person. They've just got an energy about them that's like calm, that readiness that we talked about, and there's just like a nice warm vibe with them. Spend more time with people like that, and then that in itself will pull. It's like a magnet, isn't it? That then pulls. You kind of get in their magnetic field and it's pulling you. That's just a better way to be. So that's how I would leave it for me. It's that the analogy I always have in my head is that seesaw. How does your life look currently? Are you been weighed down by all that entropy and it's just sucking the life out of you and it's pulling you down towards decay and disorder? Or are you more in that rising syntropy? So like the warmth, the heat, the light, the future looks promising, and it's like a magnetism pulling you forward to the future. Tune into that and then just go for it. Like the universal dance, just get involved in the dance.
Yes.
And away you go.
Oh yeah, and I think music, literature, these types of things, you know, stories, you know, anything that warms your heart, you just think, wow. And, you know, and it's like, it's great. Those things they're so simple, but again, you know, you can forget that. I think try and avoid people who gossip a lot, you know, badly. They've nothing else to talk about apart from decay and what's wrong and who's this. People who are a bit dull and have nothing to say and do is fine, you know, but try and get around people who have something to contribute. Might not agree with them, which is fine. It can be more interesting. But, you know, you can't deny that they're a bit quirky and energetic and syntropic. And also that they can laugh at themselves. People who can laugh at themselves, and they can, and they're not always right. You know, you don't want to be people who genuinely think that they're the only person that's never wrong about anything ever. You know, it's like, because they're obviously hanging on and frightened. The truth is that things are really open. And we need friends to navigate that. We don't need to just be right all the time.
Last little tip, because I came across it randomly, you know, when you open your phone and it'll have like it'll chuck up like a random picture of like a memory and that kind of thing. The one I sent you this morning of me and my mum when I was like a tiny little kid.
Oh yeah.
Or on holiday. I think I know people have like horrific childhoods and stuff, so it's not always the case. Just that feeling of like when you were young, like you said, the kids on the playground. Like I look at that picture and I get energy from it. Because it's like I can tell my mum's buzzing and it's all that future potential ahead of me. And I'm like, I've got my hands around her neck, haven't I? Like you were saying about, you obviously must from Leo, like the feeling of the feel of my hands on her, she must have been buzzing off that. Like you must do with Leo. And it's very syntropic, innit? It's like potential, there's energy, there's future, and it's like, come on, let's go. So even just looking at a little picture, like we used to say with Heidegger and the thrownness stuff, didn't we? Like have a look back at your thrownness and who you were then, and it gives you energy in the current moment.
Yeah, it's an innocence, as having hugs and touch and that you were loved unconditionally. That's huge. You don't need deal friends. You just need unconditional love, and you can find it wherever you look. If you can believe in that again.
Get busy living or get busy dying. That's goddamn right.
When we dance, the journey itself is the point. When we play music, you will simply become completely absorbed in sound. And therefore you will find yourself living in an eternal now in which there is no past and there is no future and there is no thing called difference between yourself and the world of nature outside you. This is red, this is green, this is something, this is nothing, this is solid, this is space. Between yourself and the world of nature outside you.